So how do we create a process basically? First of all, how do we create a process? So this is the Studio tab. As I told you, we'll be having two modules in the Studio tab. One is Process Studio and other is Object Studio. So Process Studio, how do we create a process here? So right click on the process, we can create a process here, or you can right click on the folder, you can create a process inside the folder, it will automatically go inside the folder. We can create a group also here. If you want a group inside the existing group, you can right click on the group and click on create group. Else, if you want the group to the process hierarchy, you can create a group like this also. Okay. Clear? Now, if you want to create a process, how do we do that? So whenever you right click on the process module here, and when you create a process, it will automatically group, it will automatically saved into this default folder. Okay, will be saved into default folder. If you want to see the process in IOPEX folder, then we have to right click on the IOPEX folder and create a process. So this will be our first process which we are going to create. Now we can write some description over here. What is the purpose we are creating the process? So I'm planning to demonstrate the features of the stages which we have in the process studio. So I have given the description related to that, and once you click on this checkbox, it will automatically open the process studio. Okay, instead of going and double clicking from there, you can directly choose this option. You'll get this option only when you create the process for the first time. So here is the process. Okay, so you know all these are the controls which you might have come across in your regular applications like Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and all. You know what is the purpose of them also, right? So cut, copy, paste, do, undo, and then save, print, all these things we know. Apart from that, we do have uh, controls to debug the flow. One is step, step over, and step out. You might have done this debugging in your C# programming. So you might have used F9, F10, and F11, right? And you might have debugged the programming also, right? Similarly, here we have step, step over, and step out. We will look into that, how to use step, step over, and step out. So as you are already familiar with how to debug the code, it will be easy for you to use these controls also here. Okay. And then what else we have in the control pane? So here we have reset button. What is the purpose of this reset button? Reset button, it will reset the current page. So let's say for example, this is, so here basically BluePrism, I mean this process studio will allow us to create multiple pages here. So if you are working in a specific page, if you want to reset the flow and run it from the first, so what you can do is you can do the reset. You can use this button, reset button, which will reset your execution flow. Okay, and it will take you to the initial state, changing the state from execution to in progress to initiate. Okay, so that is what reset is going to do. So apart from reset, we also have refresh button. The purpose of the refresh button is it will refresh the whole environment. So let's say for example, apart from the process studio, if I do any other changes in the object level or in the system tab, if I want those changes something related to this process to be reflected, I need to use this refresh. We will see that practically how this will help us to refresh the page and all, how it is going to refresh the whole process and environment. We will look into that. Okay, so these are the controls we have. Now apart from them, now let us step into the main page. So In the main page, this is our console window, and here is what we are going to do. We are going to design the flow here. We are going to design the flow. When I say flow, it is not a simple flow. The flow which is capable of performing some actions here. Okay. So by default, when you create a process, you will be having the main page, and inside the main page, you will be able to see information box. We call this as information box. This one, to this box, you are able to see this box, right? So this is nothing but our information box. So what this information box talks about, I mean, what is the information we get here from here? So you can see who created it, when was the last updated, I mean, who have updated it recently. All this information you will be able to see in this information box. And to run this process, if there are any preconditions or post conditions, you can mention those pre and post conditions over here. Okay. And one more point, if you want to change the name of this process, if you want to change the name of this process, we won't be able to do it directly from the studio. So let's say we go to the studio. If I try to rename this process, right click, you can see we do not get the option to rename. There is no rename button over here. You might think maybe I can use edit. No, edit is not going to edit your name. Edit will open your process. If it is already open, it will not perform any action here. Else, you say right click and edit. You can see it will open the process, but it is not going to change the name of the process. Okay, we can't change the name of the process from here. So how do I change it? So that is the place where we are going to use this information box. Open the information box here. You can see the name of the process here, name, right? Now if you want to change, you can change it from here. I'm giving a space between first and process. First process for demo. When I click OK, so now check if your name is updated. No, it will not be updated unless you save it. We have to save it. Okay. We have to save the changes. So whenever you get this dialog box of save process, don't forget to provide the required comments here. If you do not provide any comments here and you try to save it, it will not allow you to save the process. Okay, so it's mandatory to provide the comments here, and then you have supposed to save the process. Now you can see the name of the process is updated. It is same for object also. You want to change the name of the object. In the object, you will be having initialize page in which you can see information box, and that is the place where you can rename the object. Now, so what are the default stages that we are going to get when we create a process? By default, we are going to see one start stage and one end stage. So can I have multiple start stages in my process? This will be one of your certification question. Okay. So basically, when we train on something, we can complete a certification also. Basically, for this tool, we can also complete the developer certification, which is valid for your lifetime. And most of the clients will prefer the profiles who have completed the basic developer certification. Okay, and it will be having lifetime validity. So in this certification, we are going to get around like 60 questions, and you will be having 60 minutes time. You need to complete it in given time span. Okay, and pass percentage is 70%. So how many start stages we will have in a process? How many start stages we'll have per page? Okay, remember the answer will be one. Only one start stage for a page. So in main page, how many start stages we have? Only one start stage. We started only one point. So this will be one of your certification question. Remember this. And can I have multiple end stages? Yes, I can have multiple end stages. Okay. So as we discussed yesterday, this is our console. This whole thing is our console. The checkboxes here you can see. Okay. Now, how do we uh, use these stages? So select the stage which you are planning to use. Okay. Once you select the stage, you can see the cursor is highlighted with this calculation stage, right? The cursor is highlighted with the calculation stage. Now, if you want to use that calculation stage, click on the console. You will be able to see the stage. Similarly, how you have built your Windows forms. In Windows forms, you might have dragged and dropped the controls, right? Like drop down, text boxes, buttons, labels, etc. Similarly, we do in the same way, we drag and drop the stages here and we are going to utilize them. Again, one more thing. Why do we have this pointer and why do we have this link? So these are the basic controls which we keep switching between these two very frequently. And for these controls also, you have shortcuts to select them. So you can see here, these are the shortcuts. This is your toolbar. Basically, this is called as your toolbar. This is your toolbar. Okay. Similarly, how you see in Windows Forms, this is also a toolbar here. In this toolbar, you will be having different stages here. These are all termed as stages. Okay. Now, once you click on the tools, you will be able to see the shortcuts to select them. Okay. Now, if you see here, when I say F3, you can see my cursor is now highlighted with link. When I say F4, you can see my cursor is highlighted with action stage. And when I say F5, okay, F5 is different control, right? And let me click on F6. You can see my cursor is highlighted with decision stage here, similarly. Okay. That is the purpose of these tools over here, and you will be able to use them based on the shortcuts. Okay. Now coming back to the controls here, coming back to the stages here. One is pointer stage. First one is pointer stage. Pointer stage will help you to move the stages here. Okay. If I select link stage and if I try to move it, will I be able to move? No, I won't be able to move the stages if I want to move. Okay. What is the purpose of link stage? Link stage will help you to link the stages here. So how do I link it? So basically, delete everything. So let me select this link stage, and what are the stage from which you are planning to connect to the next stage, start stage and end stage. So let's say, for example, you want to connect from start stage to end stage. In between you have calculation stage. You want to connect these three stages. How do we do that? Go to the center of the start stage, click over there, click on the start stage, and then drag your cursor onto the middle of the calculation stage. This is how you will be able to link it. If you try to do something like this, if you try to cross the stage and then leave it, it will not create a link over there. See, I won't be able to create a link. I won't be able to do like this also. Okay. On the stage, click on the stage and drag it onto the next stage which you are planning to join. Okay. Then you will be able to see the stages are linked here. Okay. So what all we have here? We have toolbar, we have actions pane, and then we have information box here through which we can change the name of the process, and then we have start and end stages, and then we have all other stages here. Now, if you want to change the font of this also, you will be able to change it. So let's say, for example, if you want to change the font here, you can change the font. See, observe it carefully, you will be able to see the change in the font here. Okay, likewise. Now, If you want to change the size of the font also, you'll be able to do it like this. And then you have these normal options like bold, italic, and underlined. If you want to underline some text over here, you will be able to use this. And you want to change the color of the font also, you'll be able to change it. Okay. So to change the color of the font, it will be, you can use this and change the font color over here. Okay. But before that, make sure you are selecting a stage. You are selecting. So let's say, for example, I want to change the font for this stage alone. So what I do, I select the stage first and then do the change, do the required changes over there. Okay. If I want to do it for all the stages, I select all of them and then perform the changes. Okay. And now let us start with these stages. So as we discussed yesterday, first we are going with data item. So how do we have variables? So basically we do have variables in C# programming, and you'll be having different data types. So what are all the data types you came across in your programming language? You can type in the chat box. Int, string, double, float, and boolean, right? So likewise, we have many data types over there. So double, float, and int. So let's say, for example, take a new notepad file. Double, int, float. All these are numeric values only, right? Yes or no? All these are numeric values only. Okay. So, and there is one more data type in SQL. Have you ever come across data types in SQL? Anyone use this data type? Money? Money is also one of the data type in SQL. Okay. Money is also one of the data type in SQL. And all of them are number data types only. But when I talk about integers will be having positive and negative values both, right? 1, 2, 3, -1, -2, -3. Similarly, float. When I say float, you can see the decimal values keep floating, right? When I say double, the decimal values also will be doubling, right? Similarly, money is also nothing but your money is also a numeric value, right? So similarly, instead of having these many data types, BluePrism have given you simply one data type, which we call it as number. Okay. Instead of having float, double, decimal, what to say, like integer, money, etc., simply we have one data type here, that is number. Okay. In this number data type, you can store decimal values, you can store negative values. Okay. You can store positive integers, you can store zeros, you can pass some double values or floating values, whatever it may be, irrespective of the data type that you see in the programming languages. Number is the generic data type here in BluePrism, in which you can store any value. Okay. So basically, how do we write the program in C#? Int a equal to 10. What do you mean by this? A is a integer, a is a variable of type integer, which is holding the value 10. Similarly, we have data items here. Okay, so you can rename the data item as a and say data type is number and it is holding the initial value of 10. Okay, so it is a data item. Okay, it is a, I mean basically we call it as data items. Okay, data items, here we call it as data items, and in our programming language we call them as variables. Okay, you can call them as local data items also, like how we call them as local variables. Okay, so now this is a local data item of data type number and having the value 10. Is it clear? That is the initial value. So if I do not declare, if I don't say equal to 10, what is the initial value? None. How can it be none? For integer the initial value is 0, right? So it is not none. Basically the initial value for 0 is, sorry, the initial value for integer is 0. Have you ever tried just declaring int a and then try to see execute it in the console window? If you haven't tried it, just try it. Declare the multiple things here. So int a, string b, boolean c, likewise, and try to print it on console window. You can say print dot write line, I guess, right? That is the command. You try to do that, then you will see what are all will be the initial values. If you don't declare any value, by default it will take 0 as your initial value. By default it will take 0 as your initial value. So let's say, for example, when you declare int a is equal to 10, then what is your initial value now? A equal to 10. Your initial value is 10 now. So similarly, int b equal to 20, right? So this is my initial value for b. Now I say a equal to a plus b. Can I do this? Now tell me, after that I say print dot write line something, right? I don't remember exactly. If it is wrong, don't mistake me. Okay, it's been long time since I used programming. So print dot write line of a, when I say print dot write line of a, what is the value that will be printed on the screen? Yeah, console dot write line. Fine, I'll change it later. Console dot write line. So what will be the value? 30, right? Initial value is 10 and our current value will be stored in this variable only. Again, that will be 30 will be our current value and it will print current value. Similarly, here in the data items, initial values, you will be able to enter the initial values, but current values will be disabled. Current value will be disabled. See, I'm not able to click on the current value to enter the data into that. I won't be able to click on this current value. It is completely disabled here. Okay. So what I do here is again same thing. Only during runtime of the process, I will be able to see the current value. I'll be able to see the current value. Okay, that is the feature of data item properties. Okay, so when you open the data item properties pane, you can see data type. In data type, we'll be having different data types here: date, date time, flag. Flag is nothing but boolean, true or false. Okay, 0 or 1, and number, and then we have password. Password is also one of the data type where we will store the password, application passwords. So you want to store the password of an application, you define the type of this particular data type to password, and then you will be able to store the password in it, and it will be encrypted. You see, you won't be able to see the information that you are entering here. Okay. And then we have text. Text is nothing but string. Text is nothing but string. Can I store 150 into this text data item? Yes, I will be able to store. Numbers also nothing but characters only. Number is also a character. How about null? Is null a character? And what about spaces? So I give some space. Is this a character? Yes, space is also a character. Null is also a character. Okay. So you can store spaces, you can store null values. Null values is nothing but empty data, right? And then we have time, and then you have time span. If you want to create a time also, you can use this data item. If you want to create the time based on the values that you are getting for days, hours and minutes, you can generate our own time also here. Okay. And then image, you can store images. You can store images. So let's say, for example, when I say import, I will be able to import an image here. So let me go to some pictures. Let me see if there are some sample pictures. Let me open this one, and you will be able to see this sample picture here. Click on view. You are able to see this, right? So likewise, you will be having image data type, and then we have binary data type also here. What is this binary data type? If you have a file with binary data, you can use that file using this binary data type. You can store them, you can import the binary data into this data item. We will see how to do all these things in coming up sessions. And now we have, let us come back to data item properties. So in the data item properties, we will be having date. Okay, let me show this date. You can select, this is the control, right? You know, this is date picker control, and you can select the date here, and that will be your initial value here. Okay. Similarly, you can select date and time, both date and time. Okay. Now, so these are all the data types that we are going to have in BluePrism. So instead of having multiple data types like in programming language, here we have limited data types here. So we'll keep using these data types only. Okay, no other data types we have in this. Is collection a data type? Have you guys worked on collections? You might have worked on collections in C#. So is collection a data type? Okay, it is also a data type. Okay, collection is also a data type. You might have used list, array, and there will be other collections also. Basically, in collection we'll be having observable collection, enumerable collection, etc. Those are also different data types. The purpose of them will be completely different. So you will learn that when you go deep into this programming language. Okay. Now let me take two data items. Let us see how to add two numbers. We know how to add two numbers in programming language. Similarly, let us see how do we add two numbers in BluePrism. So how do we add two numbers? Let me take one more data item here. Name the data item as B and data type as number. And then let us pass 20 here. So we have two data items declared here, data item A and data item B. Okay, Data item A is type number and having the value 10. Similarly, B is also a data item of type number and having the value 20. Now how to add these two numbers? So in programming, you know how to add those two numbers, right? Now open this calculation stage, and here this is the properties window of the calculation stage. So if you want to manipulate the data in the sense like you want to perform any numeric operations or any operations related to strings. Okay, the strings are nothing but here in BluePrism we call them as text. Okay, we call them as text here. Okay, so on text, if you want to perform any operation and you want to do some logical operations, for everything we are going to use this calculation stage. Okay, so if you see the calculation stage properties window, here is the expression builder where you can write the expression, and then we have functions tab where you can see the functions of different types. One is text data type. These are all the functions which you can perform on text. These are all the numeric functions, logical functions, and functions which we perform on files. Similarly, we have date functions, add date, add months, date add, date diff. Okay, and then we have conversions also here. You can convert the types, data types. So let's say, for example, I have date in a text format. I have date in text format. So if you want to convert it into date type, so I can use this to date, to number, 2 seconds, to time. Clear? So similarly, we have all the functions available in the functions pane. So this is the place where you can see all the functions. So let's say, for example, you don't know how to write the syntax to add two numbers. So what we do, we simply come here and go to this numeric functions and see the function add. Click on the function add, and to the left side, pass the first operand, and then you pass the next operand. So if you want to add two numbers, a plus b, drag and drop these values here. And to the right side, this is the data items pane. You can group them based on the pages, based on data types, and view all items. So once we create more data items, then we can use this grouping pane. Okay, just remember that you can see all the data items in the data items pane in the properties window of the calculation stage. Okay, now did I miss something? I thought of telling you something. Yeah. Okay, let us do it directly here. Yeah, I thought of telling you this. Remember, guys, you can't link data items to these stages. Observe this carefully. I won't be able to link it. Either I won't be able to link any of the data item, or I can't link them from here also. Data items, we declare the data items, we use the data items inside the expressions, okay. So like how we declare the variables in programming, like how we declare the variables and then we keep using them, okay. So similarly, what we do here is like we create the data items here, but we can't link them. We are just going to utilize them here. Okay, so how do we do that? Go to numeric operations. So let's say I want to add two numbers, drag and drop your A into that, B into that. So click on the paste button. You can see the paste button here. So for each and every numeric operation here, you can see the example, how to use that numeric operation. You can see an example here. Function detail will tell you about how to use this function. So let's say, for example, I want to use logarithm function. So click on the log and you can see the example here. Determines the power to which the logarithm base must be raised to achieve the input value. Okay. So log of 1000 comma 10 equal to 3 because 10 power 3 is equal to 1000. Okay, now this is how we can go ahead and use these functions. So if you don't know how to use any of the functions, you just click on that. Let's say if you want to calculate square root of any number, then you can simply go to the calculation stage, open the calculation stage, go to the functions here, click on that, and you can see this example here how to use that, the syntax. I can say it as syntax. Okay, so syntax to add two numbers is data item 1 plus data item 2. So data item 1 name is a plus b. Okay, so where are we going to store the result then? So this will result you in something, right? This will result you in some value. When you add two numbers, it will give you some output. So how are we going to add it? I mean, where are we going to store the resultant? So that is the place where we are going to use the store result in. We are going to store the result in another data item. Okay, so let me make it as C, and then I just hovered on this button. Observe it carefully. If I don't type anything into that store result in text box here, you can see the button is disabled. When you type something, automatically you can see the button is enabled now. And when I hovered on that button, you can see there is some information over there. Click here to automatically create a data item. When you click on this button, it will automatically create a data item of the required type. What is the required type here? So what is the action we are performing here? What is the expression we are executing here? We are trying to add two numbers. Okay, when you add two numbers, what will be your resultant data type? The resultant data type will be a number only. So when you click on this blue button, it will create a data item which is of the data type that you are going to get by executing that specific expression. Okay, and it will use the name inside this field. I am going to first provide the name of the data item which I am planning to create. So I'm planning to create C. C is the name of the data item. So basically, how do we create a data item? How do we create a data item here? I will drag and drop the data item stage, double click on that, and here I will provide the name, and then I will choose the data type as number. This is one way of creating data type and data item. Now let me delete it. I will create it directly from the calculation stage. How are we going to create it? So here type C and just click on button, this blue button. You can see a data item is already created just now. Okay, and you can see its data type is number. And I'm going to rename the stage as add. Okay, so these two are the inputs to this addition, and this will be our output. So this is our formula to add two numbers. Okay, how do we execute it? So now you see I'm going to use this reset button. When I click on this reset button, you can see all the errors will be cleared here. Okay, reset. Now, so how can I run this? How can I run this flow? Now I have created the flow. How do I run it? So to run this flow, we have this button go. You might have already used it in SQL and in I mean SQL Server Management Studio and also in uh, Visual Studio. So similar to that only. So now when I click on that button go, you can see the process has ran and it has added those two numbers A and B, and my resultant is C. Okay, so now observe this carefully. So when I open this data item A, you can see the initial value is flowing into current value text box. So whatever the initial value declared here is now available in the current value field, right? Because when you run the process, you see The initial value will be coming into current value. That will be your current value. So before we run the process, are we able to change the value here? No. Only when you start the process, you will be able to change the value. Okay. Any questions so far? Even if it is a silly question, that's fine. You can go ahead and let me know, because you are already familiar with programming, right? So it will be easy for you to understand all these concepts here. But going deep, it requires some logical thinking over here. Okay. Yeah, let us take a 2 minutes break. I'll have some water and come back. Okay. Just 2 minutes, not more than 2 minutes. I'll start immediately. Okay. Just 2 minutes break. Since it is online, I'll not extend too much here. So we'll just finish in another 1 hour. Okay. Just have some water and come back. 2 minutes for you. Okay, so everyone are back. I'm not sure because I'm not able to see you, right? So hope everyone are back. Okay, let us continue now. Yes. So that is the properties of the calculation stage. So here, if you take a look at the calculation stage, what are the data items you have on this pane? You will be able to see them in the data items pane. So what are all the properties we have in this calculation stage? Open the calculation stage, you'll be able to see expression window, functions, function details, and then to the right side we have data items. Okay, we have a button called as validate. What is the purpose of this validate button? So if I click on this validate, you can see the expression is valid. So let's say if the syntax is wrong, okay, and when you try to validate, it will give an error telling that missing square bracket here. Okay, the following error has occurred. Your expression does not appear to be a valid. So it says that our expression is valid or not. So if it is not a valid expression, then it will tell you what we are missing and all. Now, similarly, we have evaluate expression also. What is the purpose of this evaluate expression? Evaluate expression will help you to execute this expression without you running from the process level. Okay. Now open this and try to click on this evaluate expression. Here you can see the values and you can test it here itself. You can identify if the expression is giving you the expected result or not. Okay. By using this evaluate expression button, you can identify the expression that you have written here is giving you the expected result or not. That is the purpose of validate and evaluate expression. Similarly, in the calculation stage, we have multiple functions over here: addition, decimal padding, divide, logarithm, multiply, power, round down, round up, round, square root, and then subtract. Okay, so we know, we are familiar with addition, division, multiplication. Power is also fine, log is also fine. So what is the purpose of this round down, round up, and round? You might have come across round also, right? Round function in numeric functions, you might have come across round. So basically the purpose of the round is here, it will round the decimal values, so based on the number of places that we are going to provide. Okay, so let's say for example, I have a decimal value something like 25.687. Okay, now I don't want to see any decimal values after 25. So what I do, I mention round down to 0 places, round the number which I have to 0 places, so that it is going to eliminate all these places. Now see what will be your result. I'm going to paste it here. Just click on this evaluate expression so that we can identify if this is giving me the expected result or not. So I'm going to evaluate this expression, and here what happened? 26, 25.687. It has rounded down to 0 places, so I'm able to see 26 as the number. Okay. Now, what will be my result now? If you evaluate the expression, what will be my result? 25. Okay, evaluate the expression and see. You can see it is 25. Similarly, let me use round up. What is the function? Round up. We have round, round up, and round down. Okay. Now I'm using round up. So what is this round up is going to do? So now evaluate the expression. You can see the resultant is 26. Okay. Even though you pass 25.1, even though you say 25.1, and you evaluate the expression, it will give you 26. Okay, that is round up. Okay, now round down. 25.9. What will be the result when I say round down? So 25. Okay, although after decimal we have the highest decimal value which is nearby to the next number, which is 26, but when you try to use round down, irrespective of the value which we have after the decimal, it will simply round down to the base value. Okay, so that is the difference between round up and round down. And then we have round function. Round function will work based on the value after the decimal. So if we say 25.4 and then round, it will give you 25. If you say 25.7 and round, it will give you 26. Okay, that is how this round, round up and round down functions are going to work. Any questions? Round, round down and round up. Okay, now how we have this round, round up and round down. Similarly, there is one more function called as decimal padding. Decimal padding. Okay, so what is this decimal padding is going to do? Padding, by the name itself you can understand what this is going to do. Okay, it is going to pad some decimal values after the given number. So let's say, for example, I give a number here. So 27, some number, and let's say I say 5 places. Now let me paste it here. Decimal pad of 27 comma 5. So once you evaluate this expression, it will give you a decimal number by padding 5 zeros after decimal. Okay, after this decimal point, you can see 5 zeros. That is what this padding is going to do. So let's say, for example, I say 25.25. Okay, now what will be the result? Is it going to add extra 5, or is it going to consider 2 5 and then give 5? 27. See the result? It is not going to add any 5. Okay, total it will consider as 5. So after 25 it will give you 3 zeros, 3 more zeros. Okay, so total we need to make sure that it's having 5 decimal values after this decimal point. Okay, so that is the purpose of decimal padding. So here we are not doing any round or round down or round up any functions. Okay, we are just doing the decimal padding here. Okay, so after doing decimal padding, can I round it and round down, round up or round down? Can I use the function on this? Yes, I can use it. So Control X, go to round function, paste your expression over there, and say to how many places. Let's say I want to see to one place. Okay, now paste it. Okay, now evaluate this expression. What is your result? 27.2. Okay, so my actual number is 27.5. First, what I'm doing, I am doing decimal padding. I have applied decimal padding function on 27.5. After that, I want to round it. So then again, what I have did, this will be resulting me in a number, right? This will result in a number. You evaluate the expression. See what is the result of a decimal pad? 27.2530. Now, can I use it in a round function? Yes, directly I can use it in a round function. So you can utilize the expressions, you can utilize these functions in another function also based on our requirement. So these are all the numeric functions. So once we have the access to the tool and all, so first I will give you some assignments, basic assignments on Monday if we have access to the tool. So I request you guys to first of all I'll give you some time so that you can go through all these functions once, and then we can start working on these tools. Okay. Okay, stage logging. What is the purpose of this stage logging? So when we were discussing yesterday, when I was giving overview of the tool, if you remember, I spoke about the log information, right? So we can go to system tab. When you click on the process logs, you will be able to see all the log information here. Okay. So these are all the log information here. Right click, hold on, 1 second. Right click on a process and view selected logs, and you can see all the log information here, what has been logged here. Okay, so now what is going to happen when I say stage logging is disabled? You can't see any log information for this stage alone, only for this stage. You can't see the log data. If you want to troubleshoot any of the error, you need to know what is the expression we are using here, what is the outcome we are getting here, output we are getting here. Only when you enable this stage logging, only then you will be able to troubleshoot it. Otherwise, you won't be able to troubleshoot it. By default, all the stages will be having stage logging option to errors only. Only when there is error, log it. Otherwise, do not log it, because we know all the log information will be stored in the database. So, and our processes will be running daily for multiple times. Okay. So if we log the information for all the stages, what is going to happen? The data, the tables in which we are storing all this log information will be increasing its size by GBs or terabytes. Okay. And which will indirectly affect the performance of your SQL server if you have huge data, log information, history data. So that is the reason we don't do it in all the scenarios. We just do it only when we get the errors. We do the logging only when we have errors. And what is this warning threshold? I'll talk about this warning threshold later. Okay, so now it might be confusing for you, so I'll talk about this later. Okay, so we need to cover up some more concepts. Okay, during that time I will talk about this warning threshold. Okay, yeah, some more questions I see. Sir, in data type, what is type? What is time span? So, take a data item, go to time span. Okay, so here you can define the duration. Here you can define the duration of a time. So you might be having some specific requirement where you want to create some time and all. for a specific duration, then you can define that using here. So let's say I have 10 days, 5 hours, 25 minutes, 30 seconds. Okay, so this will be your time span. See, this is your time span, 10.5 colon 25 colon 30. That will be your time span. I'll show you where to use this time span. We have some scenarios, okay, where we can use this time span and how to utilize them. I'll show you that. But this will define the duration of the. Uh, we can define the duration in this data item. When we define the data type of a data item as time span, you can define some of the duration for that. We'll see how to do that. With an example, it will be more easy for you to understand. Okay, dependencies. So these dependencies, right? So if you want to see any other dependencies for this process or for this main page, you will be able to see that. Okay, so let's say for example, right click, find references. Where and all I am referring this. Right now I am not referring this anywhere. So I don't have any dependencies. So similarly, when you click on the dependencies also for data items or for the if you want to find some text or if you want to find the dependencies for each page here, so when we have multiple pages here, it will be easy for you to identify where and all we are using those pages in the process level. So yesterday I have shown you a solution, right? Yesterday I have shown you a solution. So you, okay, let me open one more solution from here. Now when you go to these dependencies, here also I don't have much pages here. You can see objects and process dependencies over here. Okay, so when we have the pages, more pages, I don't have more pages in this also. I think I need to go to some other server and open another process. Anyways, let me create a page, a dummy page for now. And let me link it here. Create one more dummy page and then let me link it here. Now save it. Try save it. I'll select this page, click on the dependencies. You can see all the dependencies on that page. Yeah, I'll show it in a other process. Okay, I'll show it how it works in a other process. Okay. Anything else you have questions on apart from the ones which we have discussed so far? Let us come back to the calculation stage. Now let us look into these text functions. So if you don't have any other queries, let us look into the text functions. So in the text functions, we have char, concatenate, ends with, in string, left, length. So what are all these functions? So basically, most of the times in BluePrism, most of the processes which we are going to automate, we will be using these text functions very frequently to manipulate the data and return the output. Okay. So let's say, for example, I want to enter a name into the application. So basically, the input in the input we will be getting first name and second last name. But when we enter the data into the application, we need to enter the full name. So let's say, for example, first name, last name. Okay. Ravi is the first name. Last name is Raj. Raviraj. Okay. Now I want to enter the name into an application. There will be a field called as name in an application. Assume any application. Okay. So now how I need to enter the name? I need to enter the name as first name plus last name. Okay, likewise. So if you want to do something like this, how can I do it in BluePrism? By using concatenation function. So how do I concatenate? What is the symbol for concatenate? So how do you do concatenate in programming? Okay, we have a different syntax in programming, right? Similarly here also we have a syntax to concatenate two text functions over here. So here I can concatenate Ravi by using concatenation symbol. Ampersand will be your concatenate symbol. In double quotes, I can say Raj. Now you evaluate this expression. You can see Ravi Raj. Okay, and if you want to have some space between that, again you concatenate some space between that. Okay, double quotes, add some space, again use concatenate symbol. Now evaluate your expression. You can see Ravi space Raj. Okay, this is how we use these text functions to manipulate the data and then utilize wherever it is required. Okay, now similarly, and then we have, I'll talk about this after finishing this. Okay, let me talk about in-string now. So what is the purpose of in-string? So we understood what is the purpose of concatenate. Concatenate will help you to combine two strings here, A and B. So let's say, for example, here I have hard coded the data, but if you want to combine them from a data item, so how do we do that? We'll set, let me take two data items here, data item 1 and data item 2. Name it as first name, text data type. Ravi is my first name, and last name, Raj will be the last name. Okay, now you want to combine those two. How do we do that? Concatenate it. So how do we concatenate it? Text functions. Go to the text data items here. So these two data types are text here, and that is the reason you are able to see them under text. So in the data items pane, we are grouping them based on the data types. So you can see all the numbers you can see under numbers, all the text data items you can see under text data items. Okay. Now, if you want to concatenate, go to the text function, select concatenate function, drag and drop your the left side operand which you want to concatenate first, and then to which you are supposed to concatenate the last name. So paste it here. You can see first name and last name. Okay. Now we evaluate the expression. Now you can test it here. Ravi Raj. Test it. Yeah, we are able to concatenate it. Okay. This is so. Now let me store it in full name. I'll create one more data item. Name it as full name. I'll click on this blue button here. You can see full name data item is created under text. Now click OK. So here you can see these two are my inputs for this expression, first name and last name, and then I have full name. Now when I execute this, yes, I will get my full name into, combining first name and last name will be stored in full name data item. Okay. Now, let us go back to calculation stage here. Similarly, we have in string. It will also work on the text functions. So it will also come under text functions. So basically, if you want to identify any text in a given text, it will give you, I mean, this string will help us to identify the text in a given text. Okay, so let's say for example, I have a big sentence. In that big sentence, I want to identify if there is a specific word available in that or not. Okay, so how will I do that? You just read this function detail before we go ahead and execute it. Gets the starting point of a subsection of the text. Example, in string of example results in 4. What do you mean by this? Let me explain. Okay, so now let's say for example, let me take some text from somewhere. Control C. Let me copy this and let us come back here. Take a data item and let me name it as input, and then its data type is text. Okay, here is the data. In this, I want to identify if there is name Modi available or not. Okay, Modi available or not. Okay, so how will I do that? So I will go to calculation stage and then I will go to instring function. In instring function, I will pass my input text here, and here I will mention Modi. Okay, and paste it over here. Now, if you run it, what will be your output? Your output will be the position number. It will not give you true or false, but it will give you position number. So what are we trying to do here? We are trying to check if a given name is available in the given input sentence or not. So to do that, we use instring function. When we try to execute this function, it will give you the position. Your resultant will be a number, it will be the position. Okay, so position. Okay, so now if I execute this, see, you got the position of that. Forget about these data items. Okay, so just concentrate on these two data items here. So one is input and one is position, which will be the output from the expression which we have executed right now. So we are passing this input here. So what is our input? PM Modi unveiled a 12-foot statue of Adiguru Shankaracharya. Some information is there, but my requirement here is I need to identify in a given sentence, will I be able to find Modi name or not? Okay, so how am I going to do that? By using this function, instring function, as an instring function. Now when you try to execute this, it is giving you the position. Now check if it is correct or not. So PM 1, 2, 3. Space is also a character. Remember, space is also a character, and that is the reason it has calculated 3 as a space. Okay, number 3 will be given to space. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So from where it is starting? Fourth position. MODI, Modi. Okay, now will I get the result now? Will I get the result now? So what is the result here? 0. Why is it 0? Why is it 0? Because remember, BluePrism is case sensitive. Whatever you write, you need to make sure that you are following a proper case. Okay, so it is case sensitive. So how to overcome this issue? So that is the place where again we have different function called as upper and lower. You see, we have uppercase and lowercase. You can convert the text into uppercase or lowercase. So what I do, either you convert them to upper completely or you convert it into lower completely. Lower of input and lower of output, both. Make sure you are converting both of them to single case. Okay, now you try to run it. See, you are able to identify the function. Okay, now so let's say for example, I have this mode in two places. I have mode in two places. What is the value we are going to get now? You will get only first mode. Okay, you will not get all two. Okay, in string will find from left to right. It will searches for the text from left to right. Okay, it starts searching from left to right. So from here to here. Okay, if it is able to find in the start itself, it will give you that position only. It will not give you the next position. It will not give you the next position. Okay, is it clear? Yeah, if you want to identify the next modi also, then you need to write a combination of the expression here. We will see further once we are familiar with all these expressions, right? Once we are familiar in using, I mean, in understanding all these functions here, all these text functions, then it will be easy for us to write the combination of functions, etc. Okay. So that is the purpose of text function here. And then, sorry, in string. Now, try to see, yeah. Now let's say, for example, I have given some spelling mistake over here. What will be the result now? I am trying to search for MOI. Why? Why it will be 0? I already have MO, okay, and MO is already present here. I'm just missing D. Still, it will give me 0, or it will give me some value. It will give me some position number. It will give you 0 only because it will try to search for the whole text which you have written. It will try to search for the whole text, complete text. Only when it matches to the complete text which is mentioned here, only then you will be able to get the position. Okay, else you won't be able to get the position. Now let us come back to, now we have seen, we understood purpose of concatenate in string, and then we have understood lower. I mean, basically lower is nothing but you can change the case, uppercase or lowercase. Okay, so when you keep both of them to lower, it will be in future also we won't get any issue. So we might pass the input in a different way in uppercase, or output will be in completely lowercase. Okay, so it's better to make both of them as lower. Okay, so what are the input values for in string? For in string, we need to pass two parameters. What are the two parameters here? One is text, in which we are planning to search, and the text which we are looking for. Okay, both of them will be text only, but one text will be the input text, actual text in which we are supposed to search, and next will be the text which we are planning to search for. Okay, so two parameters for in string. And coming to length, we know what is the purpose of length. By understand, it will give you the length of the input. Okay, so let's say for example, length of input. You have the expression, test it. You can see it is of 148 characters. When I say length, it will include spaces also. It will include spaces also. Remember, okay? Length, lower, and then we have mid function. So here is the mid function which we have. So what is the purpose of this mid function? So basically the purpose of the mid function is to extract the text. So you might have used substring, I guess, right? In C sharp, we will be having a function called as substring, which will help you to get the characters or a word from a given sentence, right? By mentioning the start position and what is the length of the characters that we are planning to extract. So that is the help for, I mean, that is the purpose of substring. Similarly, here we have a function called as mid function, which will help you to extract the data from the given text. So let's say, for example, I want to extract MODI from the given text. So how will I do that? So first of all, I need to send the input text from which I am planning to extract input data. This is my input data. From this input data, I want to extract MODI, and my start point is 4 and length is also 4. MODI is 4 letter word, right? So I mention it as 4. Paste it. Now you evaluate the expression. Test it. See, you are able to get the name of the MODI from the input text. Okay. So that is the purpose of mid function. Mid function will be having three parameters. One is input text. Next one is position from where we are planning to extract the data. What is the position where we are supposed to start? And here the position starts from 1, not 0. Okay. Remember the position here starts from 1, 1, 2, 3, likewise. Okay. For position, and then the next parameter is length. How many number of characters I need to extract. Okay, so if I say 8 here, now test it. See, MODI unveiled. So you will get the next characters also, including the space. Space is also a character, as we discussed earlier. Okay, so that is the purpose of mid function here. So how we have substring and all, here we have mid function. Similarly, we have function called as replace. If you want to replace a name, if you want to replace something, you can do it by using replace. Okay, replace, provide the given string, and if you want to replace a specific value, you can do it by using this replace function. Replace, what is the pattern that you are planning to replace, and what is the new text that should be replaced for the pattern. Okay, so let's say I paste it here. Pattern I'm planning to replace is MODI. I want to replace MODI with N MODI. Okay. So instead of MODI, I want to see neither MODI, something like that. Okay. Just for our understanding here. Now when I test it, so you can see the MODI name is replaced with N MODI. Okay, and here also it is replaced here also. Now likewise, we have other functions here. So we have covered concatenate, in string, length, lower we understood, now mid we understood. Now let me talk about left. What is this left? Left will extract the data. Left will extract the data from the left side of the sentence. Left will extract the data from the left side of the sentence. Okay. So what is the purpose of mid? Mid will extract the data from anywhere based on the position and length. Okay. And left will extract the data only from left side and based on the length. So if you mention the length of the characters, how many we need to extract, it will extract only from the left side. Okay, it won't do it from right or it won't do it from middle. It will simply extract from the left side only. Left, and here I say 5 and sorry 1 2 3 7, and now evaluate the expression. Here when you test it, 7 characters from the left side, it has extracted 7 characters. PM Modi. Okay, this is how left will help you. I mean left function will work. So now similarly we have right also. What is this right going to do? Right will extract the data from the right side. You got the expression, test it. Go to the right side of the text. So you can see floods is the word which has been extracted from the right side. So from this side. So count till here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We mentioned 7 characters. You can see a space also here. Okay. Including the space, you will get the data. So that is the purpose of left and right. So mid will extract the data from any position. Okay, mid will extract the data from any position based on the position number that we are going to pass to the mid function, and left and right will extract the data from left and right only. Okay, and then we have trim start and trim end. Trim is going to remove the spaces to the left side and right side of the sentence. So let's say for example, if there is a sentence, so here the starting of the sentence, let me give some spaces here, and at the end also let me give some spaces. Okay, now coming to the text here, evaluate the expression. Actually, once. So here you can see some spaces between and at the start, and also there will be some spaces at the end also. This will be your complete text. Okay, now if you want to remove the spaces, what we do, we say trim off. Trim will remove the spaces. Test it, it will remove both the sides. When you say left trim, it will remove only left side. When you say right trim, it will remove only right side. It will help you to remove the spaces, that's all. What other functions we have? There is something called as ends with. What is this ends with is going to do? What will be the result from the ends with? Ends with will result you in true or false. It is going to check if a sentence is ending with specific word or not. So let's say for example, batch 5. Okay, I want to check if it is a batch 5 or not. Okay, now when evaluate this expression, so if it is batch 5, I am trying to check if the BluePrism training is going on for batch 5 or not. So I have mentioned it as batch 5. Since it is matching, I am able to get the resultant as true. Now similarly, if I change this here, if the training is going on for batch 6 and when I try to evaluate, it will give me false. Only if it matches, only if it is going to end with 5, it will give you true. And if there is any change in the name also, if there is any change in the name of the case or batches, something like that, evaluate the expression, it will give you false. Okay, so when it say ends with, it will try to check from here, is it ending with this word or not. So what are the word we have mentioned here? 5. So first it will see 5. Is 5 available here? No. At that point itself it will throw false. Else, now in this case what will happen? 5. Is it ending with 5? Yes. Then it will try to check if it is having a space. Yes, it is having a space. Then it starts checking this word. Is it having s here? I mean, sorry, from this it will take h and it will try to check if it is having h, but the word here ends with yes, so it will fail. Simply will give you false. So that is the purpose of ends with. Okay. And like how we have ends with, we also have starts with. So ends with, we check it from the end. Starts with, we check it from the start. Okay. We have already seen trim end and trim start. Trim will remove the spaces both sides. If you have spaces at the start, trim start will remove it. Trim end will remove it at the end. We know purpose of upper and lower. We have already seen it. Starts with right. You know, right will extract the data from the right side. Left will extract the data from the left side. Replace will replace it. What is the purpose of new line? In a given text, if you want to see the text in a new line, you will be able to see it by using this new line. Okay. So let's say, for example, when I evaluate this text and test it, you can see the whole sentence is coming in a single line. Okay. So what I do here is, okay, so I need to take the text directly to demonstrate this. Hold on, just a second. Let me take the text from here. See, so let me write down the text here. So now you evaluate this expression. You can see the whole text is coming in a single line. Okay. Now, when you pass this new line function here, concatenate. How do we concatenate a function between two strings? Between two strings, how do we concatenate a function? So double quotes. Inside the double quotes, provide double ampersand, and between the double ampersand, you pass this function new line. Now you evaluate the expression. You will be automatically able to see PM modi. See, after this, you don't have any text here. It simply went to the next line here, right? Okay. So likewise, you will be able to use new line function. New line function, if you want to enter the text in the next line, or if you want to push the data into the next line, you can use this new line function. So that is the purpose of new line function. So in the calculation stage, under text functions, these are all the things we have. Upper, trim start, trim and trim, starts with and right, replace, new line, mid, lower, length, left, in string, ends with, and then concatenate. Anyone have any questions so far? Now let me talk about character. What is the purpose of character? 75, paste, evaluate it. I'm getting a letter here. See, I passed some number and it is giving me some letter here. Okay. Now when I say so here 75, let me say 65, concatenate 66, seven. Evaluate this expression. What is the result? A, B, C. What do you mean by this? Any idea? Anyone? Exactly. All these are ASCII codes. The numeric values are nothing but our decimal values. Okay. So now let me show you. ASCII table. Okay. I'm not able to open this. Just hold on. One second. So here you can see the ASCII table here, decimal value and its related character. So char is nothing but, so based on the decimal value, you want to define your character, you can use that character function in the flow, okay, in the calculation stage. So here is the decimal value and its related character here. Okay. And you can see the explanation here. What is this ASCII table is capable of doing? Okay. You pass the input will be decimal value, output will be your character. So if you are expecting n, you have to pass 78. Okay. You want to encrypt some values by using numeric codes, or you want to decrypt something, you can use that. And character also will be used in many other scenarios. Sometimes where we need to append some text to a given text, in that case we can use this character. Okay. We will see some of the scenarios where we can utilize all these functions. Okay, we will come across some of the scenarios
most of the scenarios where we can use all these functions. So are we good with numeric and text functions today? And remaining all are easy. And then we have date functions. I will talk about date functions on Monday. Okay. So I don't want to extend most of the session with the theory part. So we'll see some of the practicals on Monday. So then it will be easy for you to understand also. So when you keep practicing, it will be easy, more easy for you to understand. Any questions? In that case, I'm giving you back your rest of the day. Thank you guys. That's all for today.